Thomason, New York, in Lower Manhattan, and travel back in time. It's only fitting. America's 250th birthday celebration is just upon us. Let's talk. How fitting would it be, that I think to myself when making this video, as we are upon America's birthday, why not discuss one of our founding fathers, George Washington, his history in New York. Heck, great influence. Dare I say, New York City is where it really where it started, not Philadelphia. I mean, we have the Washington Bridge, George Washington Bridge here. We have the Washington Monument. We have a lot of things. And as George Washington, his first president of the United States, why not give a little respect, give a little flowers to George Washington? So let me briefly describe to you George Washington and show you where he gave his inaugurational speech. And then maybe we'll even see some fireworks, how fireworks are done in and around the New York City area. I defy you to find a better location for fireworks. 24-year-old Colonel George Washington arrived in New York City for the first time in 1756. Washington was en route to Boston, Massachusetts, to seek an audience with the British Commander-in-Chief of North America, Governor William Shirley. A surveyor and seasoned soldier from Virginia, young George Washington wished to discuss his military commission within the Royal Army with Governor Shirley. From 1754 to 1763, the British Empire engaged in the 7 Years' War, better known by the North American theaters named the French and Indian War. It was a global affair. The war was fought by the French and English empires over claims on who would settle the Ohio Territory. Now, by his first visit to New York City, George Washington was already a widely known figure through his widely read memoir, The Journal of a Major, George Washington. A personal account, the journal had recounted Washington's diplomatic mission as a royal missionary sent by Virginia Governor Robert Dinwiddie to the contested Ohio Territory. Dressed in his Virginia regimental uniform and accompanied by officers and attendants, Washington created a scene of sensation in New York. Wanting to be viewed as an equal standing officer to a British regular officer, Washington welcomed the fanfare. Washington indulged in the luxury New York's mercantile community offered. His account books mention pounds spent on horses, tailor's bill or tailor's bills, servants, and treating the ladies. The New York-based paper Mercury reported, Friday last, Colonel Washington set out from this city to Boston. Washington's first trip to New York was brief, as was his trip to Boston. Shirley denied his request, and Washington returned to Virginia. The visit left Washington with a great disdain for the social hierarchy of the British Crown. In the ensuing decades, Washington's return to New York would grant him military recognition he sought, but as a general against the Royal Army. On June 15th of 1775, Congress had chosen George Washington to serve as a commander-in-chief of the newly formed Continental Army. After the victory in Massachusetts in 1775, General Washington set his attention to New York. Aware of Manhattan Island's strategic location between its northern and southern colonies, referring to the Battle of Brooklyn, Washington promptly ordered construction and fortifications upon his arrival in April of 1776. On June the 25th, Patriot lookouts witnessed the long-awaited British fleet sailing into the New York harbor. As tensions ran high, the Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, and word reached New York on July 9th. Washington ordered the Declaration to be read aloud to troops that day. Following the public reading, soldiers and civilians marched down Broadway and onto Bowling Green. Erected on the green was a statue of George III. The rowdy crowd toppled the statue and paraded the king's head on a spike, a symbolic symbolization. The body of the statue, about 4,000 pounds of lead, was sent to Connecticut and melted into musket balls to use against the king's troops. After an ill-fated attempt by peace by the British Admiral Richard Howell, the British set forth a series of events that will lead to the Battle of Brooklyn. Believing the British would directly attack Manhattan, Washington had failed to secure the Jamaica Pass, located in southern Brooklyn. The British quickly captured the pass and began their assault on American troops on August the 27th. Unfortunately, George Washington and his troops were vastly outnumbered by the British. Now, Washington had lost control of Manhattan, had lost control of New York City. And the city that Washington left was changing rapidly under British occupation. The port city became the nerve center of Loyalist activity. Washington understood that the wealth of enemy information flowing through Manhattan streets and recruited Long Island native Major Benjamin Tallmadge to lead a information ring, which was known as the Culper Spy Ring. Now, him and his associates created an intelligence flow from New York City, Long Island, Connecticut, and into George Washington's hands. Together, Washington and Benjamin implemented a series of tactics to gather intelligence, as well as confuse the New York Loyalist community. Now, do you think that Washington, after he lost Manhattan, New York City, just gave up? No, clearly he did not give up, which says a lot about his character. Aided by French forces, the Continental Army laid siege to the English troops in Yorktown, Virginia. October 19, 1781, a white flag emerged from the English encampment, and Lord Charles Cornwallis, he waved the flag, surrendered to George Washington. Now, the defeat at Yorktown paved the way for the Treaty of Paris, 1783, officially ended the American Revolution. Between the Battle of Yorktown and the Treaty of Paris, New York City had still remained under British control. The British Army and those loyal to the Crown officially left the city November 25th, 1783. And this would be celebrated as Evacuation Day. General Washington and a procession of Continental soldiers and officers made their formal entrance back into New York. The march marked Washington's first return to New York since his defeat in 1776. Washington had lamented with a heart full of love and gratitude, "I now take leave of you. I most devoutly wish that your latter days may be as prosperous and happy as your former ones have been glorious and honorable." In an unprecedented move, Washington bid farewell to his officers and sought to step down from his position as general. After 7 years with these men, the event was marked with extreme sensibility on both sides. George Washington essentially went back to civilian life, where he would be a regular private citizen for the next 4 years. Went to Mount Vernon. That's where he retreated. Guess what happened and why he was called upon in 1783. Public service had beckoned George Washington once again. The American people unanimously elected George Washington as the first president of the United States under the new Constitution in 1787. On April 30th of 1789, New York awakened at dawn to a salute from guns on the Battery for Washington's Inauguration Day. At noon, dressed in plain brown broadcloth to support American industry, Washington stepped onto the second floor balcony of Federal Hall, which I'm going to show you right now, at the intersection of Broad and Wall Street. Broad and Wall Street. The heat is getting to me. This is where where Washington made his inauguration speech. That building obviously does not stand anymore. This is a new building, but here it is. This would mark where the speech was made from the second floor balcony. And how amazingly pathetic this is that on the 250th birthday of America, Federal Hall is under construction. Goodness gracious. But you could see how it is constantly busy literally right across the street from Wall Street. And here George Washington performed the oath of office. Robert R. Livingston, after his administration of the oath, proclaimed, "Long live George Washington, President of the United States." A joyous crowd followed suit. In New York, Washington developed the American presidency. Every move he made set a precedent in the office's political and social aspects. When living in the city, the Washingtons took up residence at 3 Cherry Street. The family brought in a household staff that included 14 servants, 7 enslaved people, and the household steward. Washington's most considerable contribution to the institution was the development of the presidential cabinet. The State Department was located on the second floor, with the third floor being occupied by the Treasury Department. Washington's tenure as president in New York was brief, as the nation's capital moved to Philadelphia in 1790. Foo Philly! Here's just a close-up picture of the monument. Now, also, I do want to say another place where you could go visit. You could go to 54 Pearl or Frances Tavern. That served as the headquarters for the federal government's early departments. General Henry Knox and the War Department held offices on the first floor again, and then State Department was on the second, and within the third, the Treasury Department. That's a little part of history. People like to give Philadelphia all the credit, but New York has some part of it as well. All right, ladies and gerbils, hope all is well. Happy birthday to America. 250. Thomaston, New York, bidding you